Digital Pilipinas, bringing together the world's industry leaders in a multi-month movement of innovation and nation building to solve the country's age-old problems with technology. Technology can be our nation's strength and advantage as we showcase Filipino tech expertise to make a lasting impact on the country, influence change, and foster inclusion through technology and innovation across local and global spheres. To do this, Digital Pilipinas champions a 12-point agenda that provides solutions while leveraging on ICT-driven opportunities. Fintech, GovTech, and RegTech. PropTech. Digital transformation. Overseas Filipino banking. Future of mobility. InsurTech. E-commerce. Cybersecurity. Internet of Energy. Future of education. Digital cities. Gaming. The 12-point agenda will be our guiding star as we trade with trust, encourage cross-border collaborations, e-commerce, open finance, and work hand-in-hand with national and global tech leaders. Digital Pilipinas is a legacy in the making. In 2019, Amor Maclang, Fintech Philippines Executive Director, and Geyser Maclang Marketing Communications Incorporated co-founder, led the Philippine delegation in the Singapore Fintech Festival. In 2020, the country joined the ranks of emerging leaders in the largest event for global tech innovators, the World Fintech Festival. Now, Ms. Maclang, the appointed convener of the World Fintech Festival Philippines, is taking it a step further by gathering the brightest minds to establish the roadmap of the country's technological future with Digital Pilipinas. In the coming months, we will create the Digital Pilipinas Blueprint. It is a whole-of-nation, whole-of-society, whole-of-business approach with national leaders, foreign partners, and the private sector. Filipinos are at the heart of the ASEAN digital revolution, with Asia as the sandbox of innovations. With Digital Pilipinas, our nation will collectively break barriers, tech up industries, and go beyond what seemed to be impossible before. Watch out for our different events and programs in the following months featuring Business Without Borders, Real Estate and PropTech, EduTech, InsurTech and HealthTech, Environment and Sustainability, Diversity and Inclusion, Esports and Gaming, Cyber Defense and Cybersecurity. Get ready to join our biggest initiatives during the Global Impact Fintech ASEAN Conference, the Risky Business Series, the World Fintech Festival Reduxes, the Singapore Fintech Festival, the Next Generation Leaders Conference, culminating in the launch of the World Fintech Festival Philippines in November. Join the movement and be part of the country's digital revolution. Contact us by email and through our Facebook pages to learn more and be part of the Whole of Nation, Whole of Society platform for global and local prosperity. Digital Pilipinas is supported by the following partners and prime movers in innovation and nation building from the government and private sectors. Join the movement today. Mabuhay tayong lahat. Mabuhay ang Digital Pilipinas.
The really interesting thing about the Women Future Conference is that it's not just about women in business, it's about women changing the world.
Great leaders surround themselves with people who are not like them, but are actually very different than themselves.
There's such an assortment of sessions, different topics, great dynamic leaders.
Body, mind, and business.
As an entrepreneur, you can't throw all your eggs in that basket.
You have to have both character and competence.
I didn't see that in the marketplace, so I created it. That's what I did.
It really is a great place to get a diverse perspective on an industry or a field that you might not normally come encountered with.
Some of the topics that are covered here aren't covered in any traditional conference that I've been at.
The Women Future Conference is extraordinary in terms of the fact that it's innovative, it's leading edge, and the women that come to this particular conference are the change makers.
The world of today may have changed, yet our belief has always stayed the same. Everyone deserves the good. That's why we've changed for the better. we've made ourselves better, so we can reach those who have just begun to chase after their dreams. So we can give women the light by which to guide their families to a better tomorrow. So we can realize the hope that every Filipino harbors and move forward, leaving no one behind. We're better today, because today is what shapes the future. And in the future, we see everyone leading a lifetime for good. In life, a lifetime for good.
Deals, brands you love, secure transactions, all in GCash. Your super life app. G-Life mo na yan.
Digital Pilipinas Initiative welcomes you as leaders of today and of the future to the Digital Asian Women Leader, building the new digital infrastructure in a digital ASEAN. Today's event places our Asian women leaders on the global stage. We are making history, rather, her story, as we announce and launch the first ever Asia Pacific Agenda as part of the Women Future Conference, which will run from November 1 through 5. Women are making waves in traditionally male dominated fields like business, tech, finance, and even gaming. Today's conversation will explore the issues, solutions, and trends of women leading the way in Asia and the Pacific, all in 1 hour. We have a star-studded panel lined up for you this morning, and we can't wait to hear their insights. But first, let's hear a message from the team behind the Women Future Conference.
Hi everyone, I'm Maggie Gallagher Miller, the president of the Stevie Awards. And joining me is Ruslana Millihicker, the conference and event manager, and Nina Moore, the marketing manager. The Stevie Awards was founded in 2002 and are known as the world's premier business awards. The Stevies honor and generate public recognition of the achievements and positive contributions of organizations and working professionals around the globe. With 8 different awards programs and an annual conference, the Stevie has become one of the world's most coveted prizes.
The Women Future Conference was created in 2018 in conjunction with our Stevie Awards for Women in Business program. This year's 4th annual conference will be held November 1st through the 5th, 2021, and encourages engaging connections, professional and personal development, and mental health and financial wellness through motivational keynotes, educational sessions, and networking. From business professionals to aspiring entrepreneurs to executives, this evolving event features movers and shakers like you looking to cultivate their tomorrow. Though the conference is based in the US, we are excited to add several sessions featuring Asia-Pacific-based female leaders to this year's event, focusing on building the new digital infrastructure in the Asia-Pacific region. Panels will address women in fintech, e-commerce and mobility, and the new generation of women leaders in legacy industries across the Asia-Pacific region.
The 5-day agenda at this year's conference features an incredible lineup of over 100 speakers. Our speakers are a diverse mix of female CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, and executives from organizations such as Facebook, IBM, Infosys, KPMG, MasterCard, Monetary Authority of Singapore, OF Bank, and others. We expect to see over 500 attendees tune in from around the world. Our attendees range from women in the C-suite to vice presidents, managers, independent consultants, and students.
Reserve your virtual seat by visiting womenfutureconference.com. An additional 10% savings is applied when groups of 3 or more register together. And with a valid current student ID, you qualify for half-off student pricing. We hope to see you in November.
We hope to see you all in November for the Women Future Conference. Now, let's give a warm welcome to our keynote speaker and moderator for today's panel. She is an award-winning brand architect, risk crisis reputation strategist, movement maker, and marketing and communications innovator. She is the first communications professional in the country to become an ISO 31000 crisis management practitioner. As a Stevie awardee and champion of marketing as a force for good, her projects demonstrate that you can hit your business goals while still doing good for the country. She is a proponent of technology, digital transformation, and innovation. Currently, she serves as the convener of Digital Pilipinas, executive director for the Fintech Philippines Association, and co-founder of Geyser Maklang Marketing Communications Incorporated. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome to the screen Amor Maklang.
Good morning, everyone. Good day, good evening to all of you watching from all over the world. Mabuhay at magandang umaga po. I'm extremely happy to open, not so much as a keynote, but as a friend and partner and an advocate of many of the amazing women leaders, especially in finance and technology in Asia. We truly stand on the shoulders of giants when it comes to this space. In the technology space, more importantly, I remember when I was speaking to our partners in the Stevies and the Women Futures Conference, how if there's one thing we're truly proud of here in Asia is that there has been a movement of some of the best and brightest in terms of technology and finance and innovation in Asia. And so it is our honor that this year, for the pioneering event of the Asia Pacific Agenda of the Women's Future Conference, our focus is all about the innovative women in innovation, technology, and finance. Time and again, I've talked about the reverse diaspora. That's happening not just in the Philippines, but all over ASEAN. So historically, there's been a brain drain and an exit from our country to all over the world. But the true is now, the reverse is now happening. Basically, we're seeing some of the brightest talents in technology choosing to domicile themselves in Asia. And later, we'll hear it straight from one of the women leaders pioneering in this space, a good friend and co-advocate, Ms. Jael Tan of the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Because yes, it's no longer New York, right? That's the financial capital. Many are arguing that now it's in Asia, specifically in Singapore. You've heard it often enough. Finance and technology are historically male-dominated spaces, but we are all striving to work towards a future where we don't have to do a Women's Future Conference because we are all at parity and seen based on our output and our work and not based on our gender. We fully support this as Digital Pilipinas and in championing our 12-point agenda and solving the problems of our country through technology. We have 3 pillars driven by thought leadership, 8 sandboxes in some of the most exciting spaces, from environment, insurance, even esports and gaming. And we'll discuss how women can take an active part in creating consensus, doing legislative advocacy to make sure that we solve the problems together. It is my honor to actually welcome some of the women who will give us a sampling of what November will be like. So I was telling my friends, this is not the Women's Future Conference, but only our kickoff. And to the close to 250 women watching from all over the world, and those who are also watching via live stream in the pages of our partners, it is my honor to share with you some of my women friends, partners, and idols and colleagues. We will hear from Ms. Gay Martinez, I always tease her, being the chief marketing officer of Insular. You don't look bad for 105 years old, is what I say. They're leading. They're leading the front when it comes to teching up insurance in the Philippines. How can I not insist on having Miss Jael of the Monetary Authority of Singapore, probably one of the most low-key but most important people, women in fintech that you probably have never heard of. But single-handedly, she's been creating collaboration between countries from all over that has now made the Singapore Fintech Festival the largest technology and finance coming together. Jael, we can't wait to all visit Singapore in November. The next speaker is going to always be 18 years old at heart. And after turning 34, it was her birthday yesterday, Miss Kim Lato, the owner and founder of a pioneering e-commerce brand in the Philippines, Kim Store, continues to champion women and the youth in technology. We are also very honored to have the official digital bank representative of the Philippine government, and that is Ms. Leila Martin, the president of the OF Bank. So as of yesterday, we were having a chat with the Secretary of Finance, who enthusiastically said, yes, OF Bank is the official digital bank of the Philippine government, and led by a woman. Ms. Pebbles C continue to inspire me, being part of the leadership team of the largest wallet in the Philippines. She is driving innovation in this particular space that has actually made GCash basically a household name, not dissimilar to its mother brand, Globe, which is now a technology company. The Deputy Director of the Fintech Department of the Bank of Thailand, Ms. Marome, my colleague in the Global Impact for Fintech, is also here with us today. And she will be speaking about our advocacy in GIFT, which is the largest coming together of fintech advocates from all over the world. Last but not the least, it's so hard to actually classify what Miss Zhang is, because she's not of the Philippines, she's not of ASEAN, she's actually from all over the world. And the fact that we have a woman leader, a global woman leader, who chose to domicile in the Philippines is always going to be of immense pride for us. And she's a prime example of what the reverse global diaspora is. So, in closing, the Stevie's Award is the Oscars of the business community. In 2011, I could never forget that event that happened in Dubai. I was starting in the industry, extremely starstruck, seeing my friend Chris Nelson, who was at that time the president of Philip Morris, and a cadre of Philippine brands, who for the first time, I think, joined the Stevies. Michael, you have been so inspirational in bringing together a sense of pride in the business community. And the fact that you have zeroed in on women as an advocacy and diversity and inclusion, led by the most able women in the Stevie's Awards and the Women's Future Conference, we will be forever your friend and ally here in Asia. On this note, I'd like to turn it over to Sadie, but not without thanking every one of you, because in November, we are going to be kicking off the Society of Women in Innovation, in Finance and Technology. And I have to make mention of an inspiration and a partner, Ms. Margarita Loxian Chan. We were working on this in the last Singapore Fintech Festival as 2019, but then, of course, a pandemic happened. Tats, as we all love to call her in both the Philippines and Singapore, is truly one for the books. Not only is she championing innovation and finance in several countries in ASEAN, but she comes from a long-standing legacy of women who are also championing. Her mother, Ms. Vivian Yuchenko, is the first ever president of any bourse of an exchange, first ever woman president in the whole world. So everyone, thank you very much for being an outstanding audience. And together, mabuhay po tayong lahat. Thank you very much, Sadie.
Thank you very much, Amor. We are certainly inspired by what you've had to say for us today. Thank you for introducing our esteemed women leaders here today. At this point, we would like to, before we begin, to talk about the most awaited part of this event, call on the proud women of technology and finance to introduce themselves for 3 minutes each, as we aim to inspire next generation leaders who will rise to the challenge after this launch. Please let us all welcome to the panel, Ms. Gay Martinez.
Hi, magandang araw. To the non-Filipinos here, that means good day. I am honored and proud to be one of the panelists here today. So I handle marketing in Insular Life, the first and largest Filipino life insurance company in the Philippines, and the only mutual company here as well. There are around 30 players in the life insurance industry, comprised of a mix of multinational and local companies, as well as merged ones between foreign insurers and local banks serving as the bank assurance entities. We ranked third and fourth in terms of net worth and total assets, respectively, in 2020. Established almost 111 years ago. So Amor, we're actually older than the 105 that you mentioned earlier. We offer a comprehensive range of both individual and group products that address all our customers' needs, distributed via agency, bank assurance, and digital channels. Digital is our newest distribution channel where we make available sachet products, well, among others, or very affordable solutions. So we are able to cater to the needs of more Filipinos in support of our advocacy to provide the good, particularly the good life, to as many of our countrymen as possible. We do this via our own e-commerce platform, as well as through partnerships with Fintechs and InsurTechs. With the pride of being a Filipino insurance company, we want to uphold our heritage and therefore commit to serving our fellow Filipinos by providing them a lifetime for good. A particular segment we are focused on are the women, because we very well know that they are the gatekeepers of the Filipino family's financial well-being. In line with this, in 2018, InLife partnered with the International Finance Corporation, or IFC, to develop a strategy for becoming the insurer and employer of choice for Filipino women. Thus, our Sheroes movement was created with 4 pillars: financial literacy, health and wellness, women-specific solutions, and business and social networks. I am therefore very excited to be here today, as aside from sharing what we are doing under the Sheroes program in the more than almost 3 years that we've been running it, we are also looking forward to further strengthen this program by learning from the other women leaders from other industries, both here and from other Asia-Pacific countries. Thank you very much, and again, magandang araw po.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gay Martinez. Magandang araw din po. We are very inspired by your commitment to create a lifetime for good for women, especially through your Sheroes advocacy. At this point, we'd like to call on Ms. Jael Tan, Manager at the Fintech Ecosystem Office of the Monetary Authority of Singapore, to please say a few words.
Thanks for the kind introduction, and of course for the kind words of more. Thanks, sorry. Yeah, so I'm Jael from the Monetary Authority of Singapore. I've been working in the Fintech and Innovation Group for the past 3 years, and I think this is also a really, really good place to share how we kicked off the Singapore Fintech Festival since the start of the Fintech Innovation Group as well. So that was in 2016, and I think we've really grown to quite a length where we're at this point where it's become more than a platform for an event and conference. I think we've expanded to a little bit more of a knowledge sharing platform where we can now connect with other international fintech hubs across the world. So I think that's what Amor did mention at the start as well. Some of the collaborations with Philippines as well and globally is something that we kicked off called the World Fintech Festival. And we're really, really excited to kind of bring everyone to this platform together to share knowledge as well and to kick off some of the partnerships that's grown across the years. So I think our partnership with Philippines is one that's really interesting as well. From having international pavilions in earlier years, 2018 and 2019, to now running a full-fledged World Fintech Festival event in November this year and last year as well. So we're really looking forward to kind of running the kind of collaborations with Philippines as well as the other fintech hubs across the world. It's really excited us to kind of see the fintech leaders being profiled on each of these platforms, and also some of the announcements and initiatives that have been running on our platform. So I think I'm really pleased to be invited to this conference as well, and to share a little bit more about the work that we've done at the MES as well as at Singapore Fintech Festival. And I'm looking forward to kind of an exciting meeting all the other female leaders on this platform as well, and to hear about the work that you've been doing in your countries and your communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Tan. We are so honored to be part of your collaborative approach towards knowledge sharing to uplift women through fintech and technology. At this point, we'd like to call on Ms. Kim Lato, owner, founder, and CEO of Kim Store.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I actually just celebrated my birthday yesterday, and it feels good to celebrate it also with everyone here. So I'm Kim Lato. I am the founder and CEO of kimstore.com, the Philippines' first and largest e-commerce shopping store for tech and innovation, established in 2006. Yes, it's 15 years. My company and I are currently working on helping the Filipinos achieve the digital lifestyle that they aspire by providing affordable and high-quality consumer electronic products and innovation. Just last year, we really hit all-time high. Because of the pandemic, we provided the work-from-home gadgets nationwide. Because of our 15 years in the industry, we took this crisis as an opportunity to serve more consumers, and in fact, corporate entities. So just a background, I have spent almost 15 years of experience in e-commerce, marketing, and entrepreneurship. I graduated with bachelor's degree of marketing management from De La Salle University, and I have won several awards such as in Go Negosyo, Boss for E-commerce from PLDT and Rappler, Man Smith Fielder's Young Market Masters Award in Entrepreneurship Marketing. I'm also currently a fellow in the 2021 Alibaba Netpreneur Training Online Program. So for me, learning is fun. I continue to learn. I continue to learn from women advocates like us. Actually, I'm a fan of the 5 a.m. Club by Rob Sharma. I don't know if you know that book. Well, it says, own your mornings, elevate your life. The first hour is the most important in your day. So I use it to pray, meditate, and exercise. It gives me a lot of clarity and focus on doing things with purpose. And currently, I'm more on supporting women, entrepreneurship, and e-commerce to the local scene. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kim Lato. We celebrate you as we celebrate women today for your strength and for the way you elevate Filipinas and technology as well as e-commerce. We would now like to call on Ms. Leila Martin, President of Overseas Filipino Bank.
pleasant day to everyone. I'm Laila Martin, the President and CEO of the Overseas Filipino Bank, the very first bank granted a digital banking license by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. It is the official digital bank of the Philippine government and is a wholly owned subsidiary of the Land Bank of the Philippines, one of the top 3 banks in the country today. Presently, we cater to the global Pinoy, as Amor is want to put it. The overseas Filipinos and beneficiaries and other segments of the Philippine population as well, we consider as much of our clients as those of the overseas Filipinos. We onboarded clients from a total of 113 countries and territories as of July 31, 2021. This includes the top 10 destinations for the deployment of OFWs, namely Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Hong Kong, and Singapore, among others. We provide digital products and services via our mobile banking applications where clients can open an account online in 5 minutes or less, facilitated by artificial intelligence under a secure environment, which is very important to all of us in the digital space. We offer investment products as well, such as the Bureau of Treasury's retail premium bonds, where clients can invest minimum of 500 pesos, and the retail treasury bonds for a minimum of 5,000 pesos. Our fund transfer facilities can be used between OF Bank and Land Bank accounts at no cost, a free service to OF Bank and Land Bank clients, while transfer to other banks can also be made via the InstaPay with the fees as applicable. Online payment and purchases can be made to over 700 merchants and billers onboarded in the OF Bank mobile banking application. We continuously advocate for greater digital financial inclusion by making formal financial services much more accessible, primarily servicing overseas Filipinos anytime and anywhere in the world. We are thankful for this opportunity to join other women leaders around the world and probably discuss and target and put into fruition any activities, any plans, anything that we can do for a better world with women in the front line. Thank you so much. Good morning again.
Thank you, and good morning to you too, Ms. Martin. We are certainly inspired by the way that you empower women, particularly our overseas Filipinos and Filipinas, through your work at OF Bank. At this point, we'd like to call on Ms. Pebble C., Chief Technology and Operations Officer of GCash.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for inviting us today. I'm Pebbles. I'm the CTOO of Mint. I cover technology, operations, PMO, and CXM. Prior to this stint, I was the CIO of Globe, and I've been in various tech-related roles for over 20 years. So Mint is the operator of GCash. GCash is the #1 finance app in the country with over 46 million users now. That's 6 out of 10 Filipinos using GCash today, and we're very proud of that. When the world closed down, GCash provided a safe and convenient way to pay and transfer funds. And we provided convenient options to send money, buy essentials, pay bills. We also provided businesses with a safe and contactless way to accept payments for their goods. To date, we have empowered over 2.5 million merchants on our QR and P platforms. Pandemic has also been the biggest catalyst in the shift to digital finance. And as part of our partnership with the government, we disbursed over 16 billion in financial and relief aid to more than 2 million Filipinos safely and efficiently. GCash also became the easiest way to donate during the pandemic, and we were able to collect over 40 million of cash aid to help those affected by the pandemic and super typhoons. We provide accessible financial services like credit, savings, insurance, and investments. And we promote the digital lifestyle through G Life. Some of you may have seen the video earlier, where we give our users access to their favorite apps without needing to download. So very impressive lineup today, Amor. I'm looking forward to participating and listening, learning from the women in the panel today.
Thank you, Miss C. We are certainly inspired by how you have empowered merchants and consumers alike, particularly women, through your work that you have done through these trying times with GCash. At this point, we'd like to call on Ms. Shan Luo, Managing Director of Fintech Space Taiwan.
Hi, hi everyone, and thanks for inviting me as well. And I'm Shan. I'm from Fintech Space, and we're in Taipei, Taiwan. And running the Fintech Space is the largest innovation hub in Taipei. And I have run and in charge that for 6 years, and from very scratch. And I think being a woman that what I can leverage is my very soft skill to deal with very hard and discussion and challenges in highly regulated industry. And given my background, that my academic background is business school. But after that, I went into the ICT-based government think tank. So for 15 years, I learned about, and also my job is focusing on technology, innovation, entrepreneurship, and also the ecosystem, innovation ecosystem building. So for that, for 15 years, I've been trained as a very well-knowledge technology person. But my broad or my very original background, because it's from business. So 6 years ago, when technology meet finance, and I was the one to get into this project, and I didn't understand and did not aware of that how difficult it was, but because I thought it was just another startup ecosystem. But then I found it's very different when we meet the highly regulated, and I have also have some pivot. So we start with the very ecosystem building. And then I found, because it's existing industry, we need to transform and we need to have more activity to make it really stronger or solid. So we become a platform. So not only the startup can take place here, we also take part here. And we also have the regulatory clinics, and we have a digital sandbox. So we have a pivot to become an experiment venue. And so I transform Fintech Space into a very technology-based platform here too. And I found all of this is all because as a woman, I think I can learn, and I have a willing to learn still till now. So I believe that has a great run for every woman to just have the course, especially those kind of cross industry interpreter. It needs a lot of open mind and also understanding. So I think that would be the strength of a woman. And glad to be here and join and listen and sharing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Xianlo. Certainly, there's a lot of space for women to take in terms of the work that you have done, for example, throughout ecosystem building, creating transformations, and creating an experiment venue for tech-based platforms for women to thrive. At this point now, we'd like to call on Ms. Wichita Marome, Deputy Director of Fintech Department in the Bank of Thailand.
Hello, everyone. Very good morning, and thank you for having me here. Many thanks to Global Impact Fintech or GIFT Forum for nominating me to be one of the members on this panel. As being in the central bank, the Bank of Thailand, for the past 20 years, I started my career actually in the information technology department. I started my academic in the engineering school, majoring in computers. So obviously not a lot of girls were in that space, but I found that it was a very good opportunity that we can balance the team, and also we can contribute in our strength for the collaboration as well. So currently, I'm running the regulatory sandbox in the financial technology department. At the Bank of Thailand, we have this Fintech department for the past 5 years. We are trying to balance between the financial system stability, which is one of the mandates of the central bank. But another role and responsibility that we want to do is promoting innovations. At the same time, balancing the risk, have the risk management in the acceptable level, and also have the proper customer protection. So those innovations are being seen in the general public, like the QR code for payments, that now we are also doing the collaboration, across ASEAN. According to the ASEAN Payment Connectivity Initiatives, we have connected to Singapore, we've connected to Indonesia and Malaysia, and also the Philippines for the next stop. So we're seeing all the collaboration across the region and of course all over the world. So I'm very excited and I'm very honored to be part of the panel. And I think that women can make a lot of changes once we believe ourselves. And I truly encourage all the women out there to drive your full capability. I believe that the balancing part is very important, because not only professional lives that the women like us has to be responsible for, but we also have our personal and family lives that we have to take care of as well. So I think balancing is very important. Harmonization to stay with your professional and personal aspects is very important to do, especially this kind of time during the lockdown and the pandemic. I'm sure that a lot of women are struggling like me to take care of the kids at the same time working and doing our own full capability like this. So my heart goes to all the women out there, and give all the courage to believe and drive your capability to your minimum space, to maximum space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Marome. It's quite aspirational how you really chose to take up space in traditionally very male-dominated spaces, and still strike that balance between your professional and personal life, as you say, and in that way inspire women to innovate collaboratively with other countries to do as you do and go out there and challenge themselves. At this point, we'd like to call on Ms. Yang Zhang, the Managing Director of Send It Philippines. Ms. Zhang?
Hi. Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for having me at this event. It's actually such an honor to join such illustrious women, all of whom are, balancing so much during the pandemic and, every day during their professional lives. As for me, I basically have spent almost my entire career in tech. So I have been coding since I was just a little girl. Before, women in tech was really a movement. I think that, it was sort of an unconscious choice for me, just because that was what I was passionate about as a kid. But it's definitely extended to a lifelong passion. Most of my career has been spent in product and tech. Prior to moving to Asia, I was the chief marketing officer for an environmental tech company that was publicly listed. I moved to the Philippines initially to co-found PDAX, which is the first licensed digital asset exchange here in the Philippines, and left in 2019 to join Zendit. So today I head the Philippines expansion for Zendit. We are a payments infrastructure company that seeks to build first-to-market products, collaborating with the best and brightest of the financial institutions here. So of course, some of the ones that are on this panel as well, I've had the honor of working with the institutions that a lot of these women represent. I think our dreams kind of focus on 3 pillars. The first being the ability to connect all existing digitized financial platforms in a single platform, so that we can be that one point of integration to simplify financial services for small businesses everywhere. The second is that we really want to reinvent offline experiences, because I think that no matter what, the Philippines is still a very cash-heavy market that relies heavily on these offline payments. And until we optimize those offline payments themselves, we'll never be able to offer world-class payments experiences. And then finally, we focus heavily on being able to leverage data for good. So being able to ensure that all the data that we collect is being used for and by the end customer rather than being monetized against them. So I think on our side, I'm very, very excited to be part of this kind of rapidly growing Philippines financial ecosystem. I have, I'm really excited, I think, to be able to speak a little bit about my experience as a woman. This year has been very unique for me. I'm actually due to give birth to my first child next month. So I think that it's definitely been a learning experience trying to balance work and family, and I'm sure it'll continue to be in the years to come. But really, really excited to share whatever insight I can and hopefully inspire other women. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zhang. Congratulations as well. Your work in creating one point of integration and optimizing offline payments, leveraging data for good, it certainly will do a lot of good for women here in the Philippines and even beyond. It's very inspiring to be a part of that and to see you talk about it here today. At this point, in order to keep the momentum going, we'd like now to turn it over to Ms. Amor Maclang in order to lead the panel to discuss some of the very burning questions that we have in the front of our minds and to get into the nitty-gritty of the talks that we can have for today. Thank you very much, everybody. Ms. Amor Maclang.
Thank you so much, Sadie. And if I may encourage all of our friends and partners to turn on their video. Great, let's get started. This doesn't feel so much like a panel, but really a coming together of friends. I wish we had either tea or maybe a gin and tonic, maybe sometime soon, inshallah, maybe next year. Or in November, possibly in Singapore. We hope to see all of you. Now, I'd like to get started with you, Gay. Gay, we're really excited that the Philippines was actually chosen as a pilot, right, for this IFC project. So globally, the Philippines is making a mark in terms of inclusion and also diversity, financial inclusion and also diversity. Now, tell us briefly about the kind of impact that Sheroes has undertaken, because I understand that beyond just being initiated by In Life, this has actually grown into a movement that involves others. Gay?
That's correct. Hi, Amor. Of course, I'd be very happy to talk more about Sheroes. So yeah, this is in partnership with the IFC back in 2018 because we saw the critical role of women in the development of the financial well-being of their families, being the so-called gatekeepers. So for approximately almost 3 years now, we've been doing this through 4 pillars, as mentioned earlier. So that's financial education, health and wellness, women-specific solutions, and access to business and social networks. The objective is to touch the lives of Filipino women through the framework of these 4 pillars. So far, we're happy to share that we have been able to reach more than 3 million women already after only 1.5 years versus our 3-year target of just 1 million in 3 years. So just to share with you briefly what we've been doing under this program. So in terms of financial literacy and health and wellness, we conduct, financial literacy programs for private and public school teachers. We also do workshops for SMEs to teach them how to handle their personal finances. We have a Sheroes YouTube channel housing materials like short videos on Finlit and health and wellness. Aside from this, we also have the YouTube channel where we have aside from this, we have the In Life Sheroes website where we have very rich and informative content, so which women can definitely learn a lot from. We also organized, this is something very exciting, the In Life Sheroes Bazaar recently, and this is to provide an online platform for small and medium enterprises to promote and sell their products during the pandemic. We are helping young women entrepreneurs to pivot their startup business to sell online through our partnership with the Union Bank Global Linker. We conducted sessions for these entrepreneurs to teach them how to create their online stores. We also had mentoring sessions for them to learn. We invited a panel of experts actually for them to be able to manage these online businesses that they have. So for this was facilitated through the digital bazaar that we mounted, so titled Bida Ang Pinay. Our store is actually still up for those of you who want to shop and in the process support these women entrepreneurs. Just visit nagplug pa inlifesheroes.com.
I don't mind. Shopping is, you don't get us started, right? E-commerce has really grown, and I was there when you launched the bazaar, and I think my biggest frustration was not being able to touch and buy the products immediately. I'm gonna ask you a few things later, Gay, because we're very excited to have Miss Nina Aguas and also our IFC representative from Washington in November. And the world is really wanting to hear what you guys are doing. And yes, absolutely, you have to let us know what skincare you use, because for 111 years old, I have to say you look really good. Thank you so much, Gay.
Thank you, Amor.
Hi, Jael. Good morning. I really wanted to have you here because the journey of Singapore as a country, not just I've done work with the Singapore Tourism Board, and of course it's one of the top destinations, right, in the world from a tourism perspective. But little did we all realize that what's going to immediately put Singapore in the map is really fintech. And undoubtedly, the work that you guys are doing, not just for Singapore, but creating networks for the rest of the world, has really been remarkable. So tell us about how you guys in the MAS, right? You'd think it's a government body, but certainly what you can out agile and outpace some of the technology companies in the world. Tell us about your journey in putting Singapore and making it inarguably number one in the technology and finance space. Jael?
Thanks, Amor. And yeah, you're right. I think a lot of people know MAS as the Central Bank of Singapore, but there's also obviously another mandate that we have is for the Fintech and Innovation Group in building the fintech ecosystem in Singapore and globally. So of course, Singapore is a really small country. If we just focus on Singapore and our Singapore fintechs will never go far, it will never grow. So which is why the importance of building networks and collaborations across different countries is always important. And of course, it's always important to find a mutually beneficial point of view as well. So in order for our Singapore fintechs to succeed and move outside of Singapore as well, we will also need to kind of encourage other companies to come into Singapore as well, because I think there's something interesting that our Prime Minister sort of mentioned in the recent National Day speech. We just kind of did two celebrations of National Days last week as well because of the pandemic. But yeah, so we just, even though our National Day is on 9th August, we kind of sort of mini celebrated it last week as well. So he kind of said something whereby, nothing really is new in Singapore, right? A lot of things that we learn from around the world, we then adapt to it and try to see how we can adapt it to the country, to the region, and try to make it bigger. And I think that's quite similar to what we've been doing with the networks across the world. We see what other people are doing, and then we collaborate with them and try to make that a better product, make that a better solution, and a better partnership. So that's essentially how I think, of course, there were a lot of things that we've done over the past 5 years of growing the FinTech Hub, but I think that's really what's really helped us to grow and kind of accelerate the growth, partnering with other countries, learning from them, and building some of these bridges that help us to reach out to the wider global ecosystem.
So has it been tough? Describe how it is in the initial years.
Yeah, so I think when it comes to innovation, there's always a lot of failure, right? And we have a sort of slogan where we say, we think big, but we start small, essentially. So while, the road ahead, and I think even though we've kind of innovated so far and we've come across so far already, there's obviously so many more challenges, challenges to take on as well. So basically the road ahead may seem a bit daunting, but we're always thinking big as to how we can get to the next level, the next achievement, and kind of basically kicking through little hurdles along the way, thinking small and making small partnerships along the way. So I think there are a few things that we've done with the Philippines as well. We've been kind of looking at different challenges that we see that are similar in both countries, in both regions as well, that we can face together. So essentially making those connections on a bilateral basis, and then starting to grow that into a wider collaboration. I think that's really some of the best practices that we've learned along the way.
Jael, you really are the FinTech Queen collaborator in the region, and we'll hear more from you because we really can't wait to see everyone coming together in November. Also, another inspiration that we derived from our collaboration with the MAS is actually the Business Without Borders project. And Kim, happy birthday, our birthday girl. You will forever be 18 years old in our eyes. Yes, Kim. I know you were working through your birthday. One of the things that we'll be championing in the region is a project called Business Without Borders. And that is really how we can encourage many Filipinos and women entrepreneurs from all over Asia to trade with each other in trust. Now, you have a phenomenal story, and I think I would like to hear, as with the 331 women tuned in today, we would all like to hear how you got started, and was your age at 18 ever an obstacle, or was that used by you to your advantage? Kim?
Okay. Thank you, More. So I started the business when I was in, during my college years, sophomore years. I was 18 years old.
You're the original gigster, right?
Yeah.
Wow, look at this gig. Awesome. Go ahead. Sorry.
So I started selling cameras. Actually, I'm a photographer. As a hobby. So I started selling cameras. And then eventually when I graduated, 2008, I know you guys know that it's financial crisis. So that time, just to share, I had a conversation with my parents. My dad was telling me, I don't think it's practical for you to continue doing your gig, doing your side hustle, to make it as a full-time hustle, because I don't think it's gonna work. Really, really. But I told my mom that I think this is gonna be big in the future. And I see that this is my passion, and I see a vision that I could in some way be the Amazon of electronics in the Philippines. Then again, from a online selling business, I became a corporate brand by professionalizing my business. From selling cameras, we're now selling mobile phones, consumer electronics, actually everything consumer electronics. So there's a lot of changes in e-commerce, but because of our determination, our passion to give our consumers the best and affordable gadgets, we were able to improve our value chain positioning. Now we're the biggest e-tailer of electronics in the Philippines, and we are the longest running e-commerce business in the Philippines.
Oh my goodness, how truly inspiring. And I remember some of your initial enablers are also partners of us in Digital Filipinas, like Kuya Dick Zhang of DragonPay. We affectionately call him Kuya because he's like the Kuya of most of the fintechs in the country. What a tight community we have. It's not even a community, it feels so much like family. Thank you so much, Kim. And later I'm going to ask you about how you've seen the hybridization of work has changed over the past few months. Miss Leila, are you back on?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
I had some
wonderful.
technical difficulties earlier, so.
No worries. The task is upon you. Based on the mandate of one of the strongest pillars in our government, Secretary Dominguez. It's upon you, it's upon a woman to actually drive the first digital the digital bank that's backed by the Philippine government. What an enormous responsibility. Your constituency is not just in the Philippines but also all over the world. Now your journey has just started. My question to you, ma'am, is how did you get government to pivot and think like a tech company? Wow, I mean that for me is what I would like you to share. It's no joke.
Yeah, probably let me backtrack from the start when during the presidential campaign of our president, Rodrigo Duterte, he made a commitment to the women and OFWs that a bank will be put up, a policy bank at that will be put up to provide the needed banking services for the kababayan, which are the overseas Filipino workers. And the non-bank of the Philippines was tapped to transition the then Philippine Postal Savings Bank to what is now the Overseas Filipino Bank. Of course, Amor, at that time, there were no regulations yet in place. It's so hard to envision a digital bank running out of a traditional bank that was the little-known Philippine Postal Savings Bank. But it was fortunate for us because we have a parent bank, the Land Bank, that is quite big. The financial muscle is there. The technology is there. So we look internally how to transition it. And we found a solution, we strategized, and finally we got the vetting of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. And we were fortunate to be in the front line and being licensed as the first digital bank. We are now have an array of digital products and services. Much thanks to our parent bank, by the way. And of course, our collaboration, our ongoing collaboration with a lot of fintechs. And I'm banking on your commitment yesterday, Amor, that you will help us, diba? You will help us to further and to enhance the ecosystem that we have right now. We are partnering with fintechs that the vision is aligned with what we have in the Philippine government, that is providing the cheapest digital banking services to our Filipinos, be it abroad, located internationally, or within the Philippines. So the women leaders now, I'm trying to touch base with everyone now. I hope we can meet soon. And of course, to be facilitated by our good friend Amor here, and probably collaborate to make OF Bank more digital in terms of the technology happening right now. Think of the AI, think of the machine learning, think of OCR that we can probably embed all at once with your help. And of course, to make digital inclusion up our ante in terms of digital inclusion in the Philippines and elsewhere.
Absolutely. Challenge accepted between your leadership and that of the Secretary of Finance and the awesome women leaders here. We can totally do it, right? Challenge accepted. Yes. We should have renamed our conference Show Me the Money, the Asian Hour, right? Show Me the Money, right? If you want to see, if you want to follow the money trail, you have to follow the women. And we already have three governments, the government of Thailand from with Leica here, and the Monetary of Singapore with Jael, and then of course our official champion for digital banking in the country, Ms. Leila Martin, a woman, our president, a woman. So yes, we're doing live networking and connecting even in our thought leadership session. Pebbles, I really have been wanting to talk to you since December of 2020 when we had a chat not dissimilar to this one, but this time around, your audience is Asia Pacific. You are part of the leadership team of the number one, as you said, if I may quote you, the leading financial app in the country, right? So led by Martha on one side, and then yourself on the technology side of things. How do we make sure that the men are included in GCash?
It's interesting. Both actually in Globe and Mint, half of the population and half of the senior leadership team are women. And we didn't do that deliberately, right? I mean, we didn't have a target in terms of diversity or anything like that. We just hired the best. And it worked out. But I think it's really important that we see a lot of women represented now, right? I mean, it's very interesting because the population or the Globe population is a bit different from GCash. We have a lot of young managers and young leaders, right? And a lot of them are looking for mentorship, looking for communities where they can participate, and I think that's super important. So yeah, I mean, men are well represented, but yes, our CEO, female, which is great, right? Because on the tech side, actually, even in Ayala, all the CIOs, most of the CIOs are women. So it tells you that there's really no barrier for us. It's really just about doing your job, working hard. It's not about are you doing better than your male counterparts, which is great. I think we're lucky. I mean, in the Philippines, we are in a better position than some of our neighbors, right? I mean, we are known for gender equality. In fact, I think I saw a study that just across the Philippines, the senior executives in the Philippines, like 46% or so are actually women. So we're pretty well represented.
That's great. So last December 2020, you guys breached 1 trillion pesos. No, I'm not going to do a Dr. Evil here. I heard that you've since grown that to, I leave it to you, Pebbles. Is it 3?
3, yeah.
3 trillion, right? Yeah. Wonderful, wonderful. Congratulations. And the kind of outreach that you guys have been doing for the community. Pebbles, we will count on you to be a mentor and play mentor, not just to the women leaders in the Philippines, but also in ASEAN. Maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Hi, Shan. There is something that you said, my fellow gift servant leader in the fintech space. You mentioned something very important, which is all about ecosystem building and sandboxing. Now, to us in the technology space, we pretty much know what a sandbox is. But for the 300 plus who are tuned in and those who are watching on Facebook Live, could you kind of explain how different is a sandbox from the sandbox we used to play in kindergarten? And the things that you're doing in Taiwan right now, Sean.
Right, thank you, Emma. And sandbox from fintech space, our digital sandbox is slightly different from the regulatory sandbox. No, actually, it's a big difference. It's like the two ends. So we try to attract the technology developers into the finance innovation. So we leverage their most friendly interface, and so that's API. It's called their API. Then they can have their coding friendly.
You know what I call API? API, Sean. It's the language of love in the digital space. It's the only language we need to learn to talk to each other. Go ahead, Sean.
Thank you. And so we think that because it's a really a long journey to learn the compliance, especially for the technology talent. So we're trying to build a friendly interface and also the first letter. And then they get into the digital sandbox and we start all the kind of mentorship. And we help with the regulatory clinic and then we put them into the regulatory sandbox. So that is the final end. So we call that first mile and the last mile. So the first mile digital and the last mile. So from the experiment to getting to the market. And all this kind of long journey, I found is quite a lot of obstacles that we found. It's all different. So you have a language, about mindset, and also you have different experience. The technology people have very, very different experience, like the finance people. So for us, we need to have two things, passion and patience. So because we have to have, it's just like because I'm the mother of two, so I have to just treat them like my kids. So then I can't see them as adults. So then I can have more passion and patience too. And then and also for those developers, they are also quite easy to educate as well, since they are like a white paper, totally blank. So they won't trick you, and they are also aware of highly regulated. So they being very respect to the industry itself. So for those, we have sent them to the regulatory sandbox. And the good news is that this end of June, we just had the first one that exit the regulatory sandbox as from fintech space, and we have three, and it's quite difficult because we are positive listed regulation framework. So have a lot of review on the regulatory regulation. So it's so the most difficult part is the communication with the regulator. And also, it's a very important skill, have a very soft skill, and to have a very hard discussion because they have to do the regulatory inventory. They need to see also, and just for them, they just have one. But for us, we have the general case. So we believe once get it pass through, so everyone will be benefit from that. So that's what we believe. So I think that's the most accomplishment. But we found that different category of fintech have different obstacles and challenges. So for example, we have the rate take. We have the rate take fintech company to have the rate take challenge. So we build up the platform of the communication so they can have a well communication environment toward the regulator and also the financial institutions. And for the peer-to-peer lending, we have the joint regulatory clinic to clarify all the issues and the misunderstandings between these fintech companies and the regulator. So we think that you need to have a very innovative approach toward the very restricted regulation. So that's I think that one of the good things because the women can try, and the only words I would like to share is great, because I think a lot of things I can move forward and little by little, and every time I almost want to give up, but then when just one night sleep and after the next morning and I have the full energy. So I think it's also about the mothership and also because a woman. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And we'd like to say salamat also to our viewers in Indonesia. Hello. Thank you so much. We can't wait to go back to Bali. I love what you said, and I'll ask that again. Soft skills in a hard industry. Speaking of which, hello, Leica. How are you? Sawadika. Thank you so much. Yes. So good to see you also. Another rock star, female rock star in the gift ecosystem. And as one of the three representatives of governments in the financial services space here, our friend Sean mentioned something interesting about regulation. How do you balance off? No, balance seems to be a recurring theme. Governance seems to be another, right? And instinctively as women, we probably are the best person to keep people in line. But tell me how you balance the demands of technology and doing the right thing. I remember early on in my fintech career, some 4 or 5 years ago, governance used to mean make sure you don't end up in jail. Thankfully, it's been exactly right. Thankfully, it's really been a drastic, dramatic journey since then. And we see younger and younger technologists who are championing governance. Tell us about how you balance between innovation, technology, and governance. Leica?
Thank you, Amor. By the way, I really love Cheyenne statement about the soft skill with the hard discussion. This is really the true thing that we are facing, in the real world. So in terms of balancing here, in the government sector, I'm quite fortunate that in the Bank of Thailand, actually the majority is ladies, actually. And a lot of, senior executives are also ladies. And they can express their capability, they can express their competencies in terms of being the regulator to support and also to support the innovations. One of the questions is about the regulations that should not be the burden for the innovations. This is what the fintech department is focusing on as well. We are like one of the point of contacts that engage the industry with the regulators. We learn together with the innovators, with the financial service providers, and also explore any of the obstacles in the regulations. We have to admit that a lot of regulations are out of date, and we are doing the what's so-called RIA, the regulatory impact analysis, to try to guillotine, all the outdated and not applicable regulations, but it takes time. And we are trying to push that so hard and trying to bring our staff members to understand and learn the working space of the, let's say, startups or even innovators, that you have to learn how to fail. Even you are in the central bank, but I'm sure that the stability is another, one of our mandates that we have to be realistic on. But in the fintech space, it's you can't really only hold on the risk management part, but you have to let them explore, let them test, and let them try. This is what we're trying to do really hard. But at the same time, the governance needs to be there. We have to have the backup support and the regulations and the policy and the right direction from the tone from the top, and also collaboration is really good for ladies like us. We are, I'm sure that we can express our own feelings quite thoroughly and explicitly sometimes, whether we like it or we don't like it. But at the end, everyone loves us. That's all it takes.
I love it. Tone from the top. And also because we are supported by honorary women, like from our end, a special shout out to the honorary woman in the fintech space, Dr. Tito Ortiz. Also guidance coming from another honorary woman in financial services. That would be Secretary Sani Dominguez, right, Ma'am Leila? And then I'm sure, Jael, the tone is really set by yet another honorary woman in fintech, our CFT, Osip Nandu Mohanty. Yang, how are you? We're all, how we're feeling about your baby. We are all fintech fairy godparents. That's how we're all waiting and anticipating. And we're so happy that you're so generous with your time, despite the distance. Are you calling still from overseas, or are you in the Philippines? Are you back now in the Philippines? Still overseas, my friend?
So I'm still in Connecticut. So it is late here. It's 11 p.m., but I've been working Asian hours since getting back. It's the beauty of being digital.
Absolutely. No, listen, I have introduced you earlier as a woman a technology leader from all over. We want to hear from you why you've chosen Asia, aside from the obvious, which is the opportunity. What is it about Asia that has made you choose when in fact you could be and obviously successful anywhere else in the world?
Thank you for those kind words. But I think in general, there were two things that really drew me to Asia originally, and then, a couple more that drew me specifically to the Philippines. I think that, when I was looking at my next steps after leaving the environmental tech company, I thought about, three things I had really loved throughout my career so far. The first was, of course, for anyone who knows me, I loved building new products, and I wanted a place where I could really feel free to innovate. And so I think Asia really stood out as that, leapfrogging kind of mentality, a place where people really welcomed innovation, welcomed disruption. The second was that I realized that in emerging markets, anything that you do just has much more impact incrementally than anything you would do in a more developed market. Prior to that, I'd spent most of my career in the States, right? And a lot of the changes that you were making were iterative. A lot of the innovations you were doing were really about the bottom line and not really about creating real change. And so I think at Asia just felt like it was a place where all of the strides I tried to make technologically would actually have real life implications. And I think finally, what I realized is that in Asia, this idea of building infrastructure was actually much more core to the pain points that existed than it did in a lot of other places. I think that infrastructure in a lot of other parts of the world is closely guarded, either by regulators or by other players in the space. And I think in Asia, there's also a spirit of openness because, everyone's trying to move so quickly. I think that everyone's also more open to having new ideas come to the playing field. I think that, actually the first place I moved in Asia was Korea. It was a very different mentality than the Philippines. I think in Korea, for example, the work culture is extremely patriarchal. There are very few sort of like women leaders. Even though things are moving very quickly, it's definitely a lot more structured and a little bit less open. And so when I started looking kind of outward from there, the Philippines really jumped out at me for three other reasons, right? The first is that it seemed very poised for hypergrowth. While Indonesia, Thailand has kind of gone through that phase already, what I saw in the Philippines was a country that, was really ripe for that explosive growth, but hadn't quite gotten there yet. And we look at, the explosive growth of players like Gcash, this year, and players, like, these new digital banks popping up in the Philippines, like OF Bank. And when you look at that kind of growth, you kind of see that the soup, the primordial soup for that kind of hyper growth really existed here at that time. The second was that regulators here were extremely open. So like a fun anecdote, one of the reasons that we decided to found PDAX as people who had never really been to the Philippines before was that we literally decided to commit to the project after we had a meeting with the BSP. I think it was incredible walking out of that meeting, realizing that we had just met with a central bank, for a venture that, was just getting off the ground. And just to know that they were open to that kind of external innovation was so exciting to me. And I think finally, for the Philippines specifically, it felt like the kinds of pain points that existed here were really the perfect ones to be solved with technology. I think in a lot of different places, like there are kind of intrinsic issues that exist that would prevent technology from really having that kind of impact. But here, all the other pieces are in place, like I think that, there is a lot of transparency in the regulatory framework. There's a lot of transparency when it comes to, how banks are regulated here. And so therefore, I think it really just takes that catalyst of having the right tech, that right tech layer put in order to make sure that this growth kind of progresses, exponentially from here on out. So I think that's why the Philippines for me, I think now also, despite the fact that I'm here to give birth, like the Philippines is my home. I think there's no better place for, just welcoming people as well. But I think in general, just it's a very exciting time to be part of the fintech space in the Philippines. I think that, looking at how quickly it has grown, post-pandemic, it's really setting a new bar for growth across Southeast Asia as well. And so I think, definitely feel privileged to be part of it. Yeah.
This is wonderful. We received a few, thank you so much. And we've just outed you as Filipino. We've co-opted you, Yang as Filipino. There are a few questions from the media. So thank you to our media friends for creating a platform. And you know that it's going to be a much bigger Asia Pacific agenda in November, right? My goodness, Jael, we're never going to... We're not going to sleep at all in November between the Singapore Fintech Festival and the Women's Future Conference. From the Philippine Daily Inquirer, Miss Armin Adina, thank you for this question. Anyone can pick this up. What qualities make women efficient in financial services and in technology? And how can this be further highlighted in the industry? Anyone can take this up.
Amor, hi, this is Gay.
Hi, Gay.
I just wanted to share with you because we have an IFC study done in 2017 that identified these strengths of the different segments of women in general. So for the woman professional, they said that they have 3 remarkable features: being family focused, they have a strong foresight, and they are self-development oriented. Well, for the women entrepreneur, there were 5 remarkable qualities identified. They're family focused, economically empowered, socially progressive. They have a strong foresight, and they also have an unyielding fiscal discipline. These are actually the strengths of our
me the money.
Yes. So yeah, these are the strengths of financial advisors and female employees of InLife that has allowed us to actually, actually inspire us as a company to continue doing what we're doing through our InLife Sheroes program.
Maraming salamat. Would anyone else want to pick up that question from the Philippine Daily Inquirer?
Yes, Amor.
Yes, go, Miss Leila. Go ahead.
Amor, yes, let me. I really do believe that we Asian women are highly educated and have strong work ethics, not to mention our tenacity or our capacity to learn different languages, which I think is very crucial if we want to connect and communicate globally. So that's where the strength of, women leaders and women in general are right now.
And in collaboration, that's why, as you can see, that commitment we made to Secretary Sunny, very easy to achieve. Just in this forum, you have the government of Singapore and the government of Thailand. So, Ms. Leila, let's do this not just for OFWs, but all Filipinos ready to digitalize their banking. There is a question here. Thank you, ma'am. There is a question here from an evergreen media supporter. Shout out to Bruce of ABS-CBN. There's a question here which I would like to direct to Ms. Jael Tan. Please update us on progress in the region or even globally when it comes to fintech. So I know that we have been talking to each other in terms of the ecosystem, but maybe Jael, you can share. Jael and Yang will be great for you to share the developments of fintech in the region and maybe even global. Jael?
Maybe I'll jump at this first. I think what we're really noticing has grown within the past year is really the number of fundraisers. I think that's really kind of hit the roof. We've seen so many different fundraising happening just this year alone in the first quarter. And I think that's basically the pandemic has not allowed us to kind of slow down, essentially. We've seen that's kind of big growth in that space. In terms of, I guess, fintech, we're seeing obviously a move towards more decentralized functions as well. I think we've always been talking about the idea of Web 3.0 since maybe 3 years ago, but this year kind of seems that it's really moving to that direction. It's starting to apply in different financial services as well. And I think this is the year basically where a lot of people will start speaking a lot more about that, a lot more announcements in the area of CBDCs in particular for the central banks. So I think that's a really big area for growth this year if you're looking at fintech.
Thank you so much. Yang, did you want to share something, the developments in our space?
Sure. So I think, just for context, Untitled is a regional company. So our core market was Indonesia first. We expanded to the Philippines. Now we have presence in about 6 or 7 countries. I think something that's really important to note is the development of digital banking as a construct across the region. So I think that while, a lot of traditional banks were looking at open finance layers in the past, I think that this is the first year that I've noticed that in almost every country, there have been regulations on digital banking. And I think that in terms of, I think fuel for progress, regulations is always the first step, right? As soon as a space is regulated, similar to what Jael had said about digital currencies and CBDCs, as soon as there's more regulation around that, the faster innovation can progress. And so I think I'm really excited to see where that goes. I think that, in terms of having open banking standards, of course, the Western world, the US, Europe has had those kind of standards in place for quite a long time. But I think we now have a chance to reinvent that, maybe even push it a step further as we start to implement these standards here, because we can learn from the mistakes of the past and also start to build things that make sense for 10 years out from now. So I think I'm super excited to see how that digital banking space, grows and develops, the bank accounts as a service kind of space. And, we're really excited as Zenit to kind of participate in that as well.
Great, thank you so much. Bruce, I'm going to throw you in, an extra insight here. Ms. Kim Lato, talk to us, please, about developments in the e-commerce space, not just in the Philippines, but also in the region. Fearless forecast, Kim. Kim?
Yeah, okay, we're good. Yeah, so because of the pandemic, I think it served as a catalyst to amplify e-commerce initiatives. Currently, more than marketplaces, we're also doing, I think live streaming is the future. D2C, brands going to direct to the consumers. This is the latest trend and the future trend for e-commerce. It's not only merely selling retail products, electronic products, but this time around, everybody has a fair shot going direct to consumers by creating your own brand of products. And well, actually we're into B2C, but now we're, I think there's a very big potential into B2B in e-commerce space. There's so much, especially because everyone here are into fintech. I think with financial inclusion, more and more people would go online. Everybody has a fair shot, the youth, the women, to go online to sell in marketplaces, or just by having a electronic, you could already sell in your Facebook. Social commerce would also be a hit thing. Well, I think also you could also do selling your goods, used goods. I think that would be a good trend in the future, especially
the buy now, pay later. Wow.
Buy now, pay later. Yeah. So there, pretty much that.
Thanks, Kim. Continue to champion women in the youth and technology for us. Okay, before we go to the last question, I'm going to ask everyone, I need a fast answer from all of you, which would be, because we have young listeners from all over, and by young, I define it to be 50 and under. My question would be, what would you tell your 18-year-old self, right? What would you tell your 18-year-old self? But before we go into that question for everyone, there is a question that I think Leica and potentially Layla, and at the same time, Jael can answer. There's a question here from Miss Christine Gonzalez. What are your thoughts with regards to a cashless currency or a one world currency? Layla, Leica, and Jael, feel free to answer.
Well, Amor, yeah, it will be great to have a one currency for everyone. But, well, I guess there's gonna be a lot of work in store for us to achieve that. It might not happen in the next 2 years, but it will definitely happen. As long as we pursue what we're doing now, as long as women leaders are here to balance what the males are doing right now, because definitely we need to break the stereotype of gender-based policies, regulations, occupations, employments, and so on. But yes, it's kind of exciting to think about a world wherein only one currency, only one rule is being applied. But it will take a lot of work, a lot of infrastructure changes. Of course, with fintech collaboration, it will definitely happen. And let me answer now, Amor. What will I tell my 18-year-old self? I will probably tell my 1-month-old self not to grow up too fast because I want to be there when that happens, Amor. When everyone is into one rule, one currency, and we have one mind to be progressive in everything that we do, to up each and every one, to have women leaders in equal footing with the male leaders as well, not only the leaders, but the population as well, to be working harmoniously, collaborating, and progressive in their own individual self. So thank you, Amor.
Thank you so much, our champion for digital banking in the country. How can I not ask about cashlessness and not ask Miss Pebbles C? Pebbles, your thoughts. Going cashless, a one economy to rule them all, a one currency to rule them all. Any thoughts on the matter?
I don't know.
How close or how far is it?
Yeah, I don't know about the one currency, but cashless definitely, right? I mean, we're already there thanks to the pandemic. I mean, that really triggered and pushed people to adopt. And when they adopted it, they realized that it's so much easier. Hopefully, people don't go back. And it's critical, right? I mean, we are trying to solve a bigger problem, and financial inclusion is key if we want to empower women, and not just women, really, just the underbanked and the underserved. So I think we're there. And with the help of regulatory bodies, the help of BSP, who've really been championing a cashless society. I think it will happen much sooner than we originally thought. So,
and your message to your 18-year-old self?
My 18-year-old self, just pursue your passion, surround yourself with the right people, and maybe, because honestly, I took computer science in college, but I wasn't really sure then. I just thought, sounded exciting. But I would tell myself that, it's the right choice, and that one day mobile and digital will rule everything. Right. In fact, today, the barriers you talk about roles, whether you're in marketing, you're in finance, everything is technology, right? And driven by technology. So I tell myself, you made the right choice.
Thank you so much. Wonderful. Leica and Jael, did you want to make a quick comment for our media friends on a one currency economy? And your notes, your personal note to your 18-year-old self.
Yes, hi, Amor. For me, I think any currencies are the same. It depends on the adoption, the how you can use it and make use of it potentially. We talk about the inclusion, we talk about the underserved groups of people, but having the risk management in place and also consumer protection for those users are also important, maybe more important than, even one single currency or even multiple currencies that we have. And also the incentive structure for all the stakeholders needs to be balanced and in the win and win situation. This is very important to make it go forward with the sustainability that we want to see in the near future. So what I want to tell my 18-year-old self, which was a long time back, was be the best that you can, and don't intimidate or scared in whatever you don't know yet what's going to happen. Just explore it, live as if there would never be tomorrow.
Thank you. Super well said. Thank you, Leica. Jael?
Yeah, I'll just go quickly because I know that we're running out of time as well. Definitely echo what Leica has said as well when it comes to a one currency economy. It's really about solving the problem. And of course, there's always more than one way to skin the cat, whether that's that's the only answer to solving the problems of financial inclusion, adoption, and that how that kind of sort of balances out with whether we can regulate that or whether regulation is actually needed to make sure that, we kind of mitigate the risks around it as well. So it's always about, I guess, when we come as a regulator point of view, it's always about problem solving and rather than the technology itself, and whether that's kind of the best way to solve the problem. That would be my response to that. And just the interesting question you had about telling your 18-year-old self, I literally just had this debate with my partner yesterday because he's an engineer by training, and I asked him, why is IT and engineering kind of male-dominated industry? And he said, girls just don't like engineering. So basically, I think what I would tell my 18-year-old self is that, basically there's no role that a girl can do, or limited to a girl can do. Girls can be engineers, girls can be doctors, lawyers, whatsoever, pursue your dreams whatsoever. And I wish I had that advice to myself, rather than being able to fit into that box of the gender role when I was younger, that made me pursue sort of a more language-driven kind of course when I was younger as well. So definitely pursue your dreams is, I guess, the general high-level takeaway from most of the women leaders here as well.
Jael, extra airtime for you. Please make the call to all women out there to come and fly over or be part of World Fintech Festival in Singapore Fintech Festival. Jael?
Yeah, I think you've made a call many times today already, but definitely join us at the Singapore Fintech Festival and the World Fintech Festival in the Philippines from the 8th to 12th November. That's basically the platform that we use to convene women leaders in fintech, all leaders in fintech as well, to have a voice to kind of share your views and basically your solutions, make connections as well at the Singapore Fintech Festival.
Thank you, Jael. Shan, quickly, what's your note to your 18-year-old self?
Thanks. Actually, for also a long time ago myself, I think I will say two things. One is to don't be afraid of that having belief, because I think the power of belief is quite powerful and unexpectedly. And the second one is the having empathy. I think just put yourself into other shoes and often, daily, and also reflect on yourself. So that's just two things I think I would like my 18-year-old me, if I can do it well and better.
Thank you so much. And Gay, that was 100 years ago. Sorry, no, my math is awful, right? Go Gay.
Yeah,
your note to your 18-year-old self.
Yeah, pretty much like the others, like Jael in particular. I will just say you are great. You can do what men are doing as well, if not even better. So please do not be afraid to pursue that degree in computer engineering. It was actually my first choice, but I got intimidated that it was a male-dominated world, overwhelmed by the imagery of hardware, servers, etc. So I ended up in economics. No regrets though. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Amazing. Jael, give us a sec. We're just going to have a quick photo op before we let everyone go for lunch. But a quick note from myself. Money is all about narratives. It's all about creating a narrative, whether it's for the underincluded women, the underinsured, whether it's for the students. It's all about creating narratives. The reason why gold is because it used to be used by royalty, and now we're creating new narratives in new asset classes like tokens and crypto. So please continue to make new narratives for all of us, together with all the amazing and fantastic women. Sadie, back to you for that photo op, because it never happened if we don't have a groupie.
That's quite right, Amor. At this point, then, I'd like to ask all of our panelists to please have their videos on, look at their cameras, give us a big smile, and we will take a photo in 3, 2, 1. And another one in 3, 2, 1. At this point, I'd like to thank Ms. Amor Maclang and our esteemed panelists, who each have individually very nuanced perspectives that certainly will promote our understanding of the financial empowerment and the equalizing power of digital transformations for women in the Philippines, in the region, and certainly all over. Thank you very much for attending today's conference. Again, we'd like to remind everybody to please show up and support our Women's Future Conference happening in November. Now, what we'd like to say is mabuhay ang kababaihan, mabuhay tayong lahat, and we'd see you on November. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.